Did you know that there was an African king who single-handedly humiliated the entire British Empire? Yes, it's true. And this king wasn't even from one of the biggest or most powerful African nations. So how did he do it? Well, that's what we're going to find out today. This is the incredible story of King Moshoeshoe I of Lesotho, a tiny mountainous kingdom completely surrounded by South Africa. Back in the 19th century, the British Empire was at its peak and was ruling over almost a quarter of the entire world. But they had a big problem. Even though the British had conquered most of South Africa, there was still a large part of the country that hadn't been subdued. And what made things even more difficult was that these people weren't just going to sit back and let the British walk over them. They put up fierce resistance and even united together to form a massive army known as the Viervoet, which consisted of elite warriors from every single tribe in South Africa. This army would go on to defeat the Dutch settlers that had been there since the 1600s and drive them into the sea. And soon after, they set their sights on the British. But the British were prepared. They had a strong army and a lot of weapons. And after a series of bloody battles, the Viervoet were defeated and forced to flee. As the British began to move in and take over more land, the tribes were scattered and forced to submit to the British rule, all except one. That is, the leader of the Viervoet, a man named Moshoeshoe, managed to escape to a remote mountain where he regrouped and started planning his next move. He knew that in order to defeat the British, he needed allies, so he reached out to the other tribes and asked for their help. And much to his surprise, they agreed. Even though the tribes had been enemies for years, they put aside their differences and united under his banner. Together, they formed a new nation called Lesotho, which became a beacon of hope for all the Africans living under British rule. Moshoeshoe was now the king of an entire nation, and he quickly got to work on making it the most powerful force in South Africa. He implemented new laws and policies that helped to improve the lives of his people. And he also built a strong military that was capable of defending the nation from any threat. Soon enough, Lesotho became a thorn in the side of the British Empire. And the British were getting very uncomfortable with having this small but powerful nation on their border. So, they tried everything they could to get rid of it. They sent in soldiers to try to arrest Moshoeshoe, but he escaped. They tried to bribe him into giving up, but he refused. And when all else failed, they declared war on Lesotho. What followed was one of the most humiliating defeats the British Empire had ever suffered. Moshoeshoe's army was too strong for the British to handle, and within just a few months, they had taken back all of the land that the British had stolen from them, but instead of taking the time to celebrate their victory, Moshoeshoe wasted no time in launching a counterattack. He led his army across the border and into British South Africa, where he began pillaging and looting entire cities. It was a full-scale invasion, and the British were completely caught off guard. To make matters worse, the other African nations that the British had subjugated joined in on the attack as well. The British were being attacked from all sides, and they didn't stand a chance. Within a year of declaring war, the British were completely defeated and had to sign a treaty giving back all of the land they had stolen and recognizing Lesotho as an independent nation. Moshoeshoe had just humiliated the greatest empire in the world, and he wasn't done yet. He continued to expand his empire, and at its peak, it stretched from the Atlantic Ocean to the Indian Ocean. He also implemented many reforms to help modernize his nation and improve the lives of his people. He established a legal system, a currency, and even a national anthem. And because of his efforts, Lesotho became known as the Switzerland of Africa. And fortunately, Moshoeshoe's empire didn't last forever. After he died, Lesotho was eventually conquered by the British, but his legacy lived on. To this day, he is remembered as a hero who stood up against the greatest empire in history and won. Thanks for watching.